Nico Jackson is a Bayern Munich player. This is, of course, something we discussed on yesterday's show. A lot of stories about him going to Munich. And then, of course, because of the injury, meaning that he was going to come back to Chelsea. But he's going to Bayern. That's it. Done and dusted. Bayern with an obligation to buy, Jules, yeah?
Yeah, loan fee, obligation to buy at the end of the season, and bonuses on top of that obligation to buy that can get the whole package to 80 million euros,
Wow.
which I never thought I would say that some club could actually have agreed to potentially pay that much money for Nico Jackson, especially Bayern, who really, if you look at it, he's going to be on the bench. There's no way, unless company wants to try Harry Kane and Nico, striker partnership combination with Olise on the right and Luis Diaz on the left. But once Musiala comes back, certainly towards November, December, and even Gnabry will play as a 10, Olise on the right, Kane up front, Diaz on the left, and Nico's position will be on the bench. But hey, it's a loan fee of 15 million euros. Then there's the obligation to buy at 50, and then potentially those bonuses that can put it up to 80. But I think this is a good deal for Chelsea.
Why have they paid this much?
I think Bayern has been desperate for a long time now to get another body in, not particularly, a starter, because their front four, especially when Musiala comes back, it's pretty amazing. I mean, what front four is really better than Musiala, Olise, Diaz, and Kane? So they wanted another body, which I can understand in case there's an injury, and they were literally linked. They were linked with so many forwards / wingers / number 9s through the whole summer. Could not get anything through the line. Even we talked about Garnacho earlier. He didn't even want to look at them. Xavi Simons, the same. Even Christopher Nkunku at some point was quite keen and then decided not to go there because he knew he was not going to be a starter. So for Nico, he seemed quite happy to go there. Good for him. For Bayern, it's quite a lot of money for somebody who, for quite a lot of that time, is going to be on the bench because, again, he's not better than anybody in that front four.
If you were sitting on the fence, not that many are, if you were sitting on the fence thinking about how the game has evolved and how the money is now, and you didn't think the game had gone, this is just proof. Nothing against Nico Jackson, but he's going to Bayern Munich on a hefty loan fee with an obligation to buy as Chelsea's third choice striker. I mean, it just, some of the moves that are occurring these days just smacks of agents getting weighed in heavily. People getting paid behind the scenes, money changing hands, and players making moves that you sit and go, really? I mean, is Nico Jackson, Bayern Munich are a juggernaut of European football.
It's not the agent's fault, is it?
No,
isn't it Bayern Munich's fault for leaving things last minute?
No, but what I'm
their
saying
job.
is Bayern Munich, and you know, they're talking about how a club's run. Ole Hoeneß and all these, as Jan calls them, muppets upstairs, you know, leaving all this to the last minute. Are we actually saying that this juggernaut of world football, European football, is Nico Jackson was their option? Yeah. Is that what Bayern Munich are telling Vincent Kompany?
The odd part is that Bayern sell Matthias Tell earlier this summer. It's 40 million. Now, whether Tell was absolutely adamant that he
and Kingsley Coman as well.
And Kingsley Coman, that they wanted to leave. But you sell Tell, who plays the exact same position as Nico Jackson, for 40 million to Spurs or somewhere around, and you bring in Jackson initially for a loan, but it could rise to as much as 80. That makes no sense to me at all in any single level.
Hold on. They didn't, I might be wrong here. Thomas Müller did not retire. They did not renew his contract, right?
Absolutely.
I know Thomas Müller is the wrong side of 30. Are we saying that Bayern Munich think they're going to be better off with Nicolas Jackson sat on the bench than Thomas Müller coming on for a cameo now and again? By the way, just paying his wages, which I'm sure was no small sum. But they've let him go to bring in Nico Jackson. Let that sink in.
Meanwhile, let's move on to Spurs, shall we, Jules? Because I'm interested about Kolo Muani, who I think a few years ago everyone would agree is one of the hottest prospects in European football. What has happened? I was going to say, how's he ended up at Spurs? But I didn't mean to quite put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, again, they've been looking for another forward for quite some time, and obviously we know that they missed on some main targets like Eze, obviously, and yet Xavi Simons has arrived, didn't play at the weekend, but they just wanted another quite versatile forward that could play either as a 9 or wide, which Kolo Muani is. The deal for Kolo Muani to Juventus didn't happen because PSG and Juventus could not find an agreement, and Spurs thought, he's a good signing. It's not far. He takes the Eurostar. It's just across the channel. Let's go. And it's a loan fee, to be fair. So it's not a bad deal, I think, for Spurs. He's a good player. He's a good kid, really. Not the most clinical, I give you that. Not the most gifted technically too, but he started well at Juventus. Again, he can play in different positions. He runs and he can press, and he's got the right mentality. But I'm not sure how much him arriving at the club, and yeah, there's Richarlison and Solanke, and I can see him playing ahead of them too if he does better and if he takes his chances and stuff like that. I'm just not sure how much this moves the needles for Spurs in a huge season where they will be back in the Champions League, have quite a tough fixture list in that league phase, plus the league where, as we saw already against Bournemouth, they were so inoffensive. I'm not sure Kolo Muani, if you bring him instead of Richarlison in the team that lost to Bournemouth on Saturday, where they had 1 shot, 0 on target in the whole 90 minutes, that Kolo Muani changes this, you know? So I'm not sure this was the right profile, but at least they just have, again, another body.
But Jules, how much did PSG pay for him initially, back in the day?
Yeah, a lot, 75 million euros,
so
without bonuses.
So what's happened? Why has he not been able to fulfill that potential?
I don't think Luis Enrique really ever wanted him. He was very much a club, let's bring the Paris kids back to Paris because he's Paris born and bred. And that was the idea at the time. Kylian was still at the club and Kolo Muani and Mbappe are close friends. I think that played a part as well. And I think very quickly, Luis Enrique, and to be fair, everybody else, realized that he just could not do the things that Luis Enrique wanted from his number 9. And that's why very quickly he had a few games, he had a few opportunities and chances, didn't take them for obvious reasons because he was just not good enough for what Luis Enrique wanted his number 9 to do. Then he went on the bench and then he went on the transfer list, and then in January he moved because there was just no future for him at the club. And again, this was the same this summer. I think PSG could have done a move for him earlier, to go back to the point that we made about a few clubs that waited so late. But again, a lot of clubs who were interested in Kolo Muani, including Juventus, thought we're going to wait the last minute, and at the last minute PSG will lower the expectation. PSG didn't want a strict loan. They wanted a loan with an obligation to buy or a permanent deal. But because they waited so long, when Spurs came with a loan offer, they said yes, because it was either that or he would have stayed and sit in the stands and then paying his wages for the next 6 months.
Let's take a look at some of the other notable transfers, shall we, that's happened over the last 24 hours. Remember, this is it. This is the last day you get to do any sort of dealings before the start of January. Let's take a look at some of those notable signings. We're just putting them all together. There you are.
Putting them all together.
Yep. Shaka, you sorted out my pronunciation of Piero
Hincapié.
Thank you very much. He's joined Arsenal. Ioan, of course, has made that move eventually to Newcastle. Lisa Penda has joined Juventus. Jadon Sancho and Harvey Elliott have both joined Aston Villa. Benjamin Pavard, meanwhile, has joined Marseille. Any of those you want to talk about, Craig? You look, I suppose, the 2 Villa signings.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously Harvey Elliott I think he's a very good player. Obviously, he was surplus at Liverpool. I mean, are we going to keep an eye on Jadon Sancho, see how he does? Because we seem to have been doing that every season. Now, if he's going to resurrect his career, and it seems Unai Emery taking in these loan players from Man United. He took Rashford last year. It kind of worked at times and not at others. But is that going to rejuvenate a Villa side that have started the season very flat? I'm not so sure. I think if you're a Villa fan, it's been a worrisome start to the season and a very disappointing and unexciting transfer window, if we're being honest.
Meanwhile, a penalty Juventus, Jules?
Yeah, I mean, I won't lie, I didn't see this one coming. For Juventus, who, as we said, wanted Kolo Muani, they already have Jonathan David and Vlahovic already there. They play with one striker, by the way. So now you add Openda. It's alone with an option to buy. How many number 9s do you want in your squad when you just play with one on the pitch? And yeah, of course, Openda, if you want, can play wide, but they also have wide players, but they play with wing backs. So even Zegrova, who just signed for them for Lille with 1 year left on his contract, I'm not sure where he fits in this system where they play with 2 inside 10s, where Yildiz and Conceição are those 2 guys for now. So it'd be interesting to see. But Vlahovic, David and Openda, that's 3 number 9s for just one place.
Let's take a look at some other notable transfers as we just tie a bow on today's transfer window. As we mentioned, Rasmus Højlund has gone to Napoli. Marcus Asensio has joined Fenerbahce. Rabiot back at Milan. Kanji has joined Inter. Chukwueze has made the move to Fulham. Meanwhile, Kevin joins Fulham as well. Boniface has made the move to Bremen.